Let's go ahead and call the special meeting to order. And we'll start with the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, we have a public comment. We have public comment.
I have no public comment.
Okay.
Can we get into the water issue that I haven't done it? We can discuss it then. When you get different water things.
Okay. We would have to add, we don't have it here to.
You can add a public comment.
Well, no, I don't mean that. Yeah, we can. But we don't have an approval of the agenda.
Because it's a special meeting.
Okay.
This agenda is.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thanks for that. I wasn't sure. We'll add public comment to at the end. Is that good enough? I mean, will that be fitting? Because it's gonna have to be.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I've got a meeting I got to attend, so I've just got a few minutes.
Well, we'll generally start with whoever's present here. I hear you, Mr. Carey. But did you want to wait? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Carey. Did you want to add public comment?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Couple quick things. I just took a brief look at your meeting agenda. And by the way, John, you are correct. Travis, I don't think you are correct on this one. You really do need to approve the meeting agenda, even on a special meeting. Every public meeting, it should be approved by the board. But anyway, moving on. John, your voicemail is full, just giving you a heads up. I left you a couple of messages. One of those was a public records request. Just be aware of that. Then back to the issues on the agenda for today. The Port of Tahuya, they got themselves, in a real fix where they really couldn't find anything worthwhile to do for the community out here, their tax base. And so they kept trying to do different projects, but the public wasn't really very supportive of it. And so anyway, in the end, the public ended up voting to dissolve the Port of Tahuya. And I see the Port of Allyn kind of going down that same path. There are things I think the Port of Allyn can do, but one of them is not the oyster house. Okay. I mean, private sector, businesses, and organizations and committees, they work on projects like that. The port's district's function is to create an infrastructure for economic growth and development and help attract businesses. It's not to get out and actually do what the businesses do. I mean, your job's pretty easy. All you got to do is just provide an environment to attract economic growth and development. That's it. And a measure of your success, I've said this before, is how well the businesses are desiring to come to your district. That's really the long and short of it. So the Oyster House, I mean, Sweetwater Park, those things we say, economic growth through tourism. I mean, that's just a farce. I mean, the dollars the taxpayers spend to try to bring in tourism, and most people don't want tourism. They want to have it peace and quiet and the way it is. That's the way it was in Tahuya, and I'm sure that's the way it is in Allyn. They want their dock repaired. They want a few of the niceties, there at the park. But the bottom line is that you really need to focus your energies, in my opinion, and when I read the rules, the laws, in economic growth and development infrastructure. And that's it. And thanks for taking my comment. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for and using that time wisely in terms of the minute. You're right on the money there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carey.
You're welcome.
And anybody else online for public? Let me digress a little. Did you have public comment? You had a phone call, so if
Is it the beginning of the meeting? Or
yeah, it's the beginning of public comment. We're gonna add.
Go ahead, finish with them and I'll.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like
Anybody
to go
else?
ahead and make a comment.
Mr. Cedarlin? Okay.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Good morning, commissioners,
Comment.
director. I just wanted to touch on the agenda items. Excuse me. First of all, it'd be nice to have a little bit more notice before these special sessions. if you guys could look at setting up an email alert like a lot of the counties do when there's going to be meetings or updates coming, that the general public could get a notice in advance, that would be very helpful. Secondly, in addressing the water usage, the governor waived in the COVID restrictions in September of 2021 regarding late fees and disconnection notices, and the port has not adapted to that yet. The way their billing system has worked has not been a good service to the general public. A lot of our tenants have been allowed to get very far behind on water bills with no consequences of late fees or disconnection notices. We don't seem to have those problems with Mason County Public or PUD. All of our customers are paying them promptly. They're not racking up back bills. The gas company is the same thing. So we feel this is an issue that relates to the port and their billing practices and lack of, particularly
Your
during
time's almost up.
the years of
You got just a little bit left.
2022 and 2023. I still have some time left. And also, so we were asking that those bills from 23 and the first half of 2024 be waived. Also, we're asking that the port would, as a municipal corporation, would provide some assistance links to our customers that they're behind on their bills. Probably indicate if the water bills are too high. So they're going to need some public assistance and access to those resources. They should be listed on the port's website. Many of them, the private water companies, have this information available to their customers who fall behind. So I'm just making a recommendation on behalf of our customers, the ratepayers in the Port District, and we would like to have a solution worked out to get their back bills waived and have them start over with a clean slate. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Seeland. All right, and here's from Besser. Is there anybody else online? Sorry. All right, yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ken Van Busker from Belfair. Before you do the business with the Oyster House today, I was just kind of curious if you reviewed the survey that was online and then got taken down last year about the comp plan, where that Oyster House fell in the general community's opinion about it.
Okay.
I don't know if you folks have asked that question, but might be something to consider. But what I really wanted to talk about was the last special meeting you had, where you approved the volunteer waiver of liability for a loop trail on the port property in Belfair. I sent an email to you all and asked that it be forwarded to your attorney in Honduras. I haven't heard back from them. I talked to Myra from the RCO about the trail, and she suggested, and I think she forwarded the suggestion to the port, that the community should be involved in any kind of trail plans. The trail that I think that they're probably looking at is one that was designed back in before the port even took acquisition of that property. And doesn't make any sense. I also found a Department of Ecology vehicle on the port property the day after your regular meeting, and a crew had been sent to the property by the Canal Salmon Enhancement Group. And the foreman and the crew were up on the property. And I walked partway up the road there, and I met the gentleman coming down, and he wondered if I was Mr. Merrill. And said, no, I'm not Mr. Merrill. I called and left you 4 messages. I called Mr. Merrill and left him a message. I talked to this gentleman. He's a Department of Ecology employee. And we discussed the hazard trees up there. And he wondered what the red ribbons were on the trees and such, and I then talked to his supervisor and suggested that the crew stand down for safety concerns. I also talked to the county about permits, and I guess they've reached out to you folks. I requested a copy of the grant and the public outcomes per
15 seconds.
RCW
Okay,
from the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group, and they haven't complied.
all right.
But I think you folks, I also talked to Mr. Mullen of the Department of Ecology about the Brownsfield grant. So I think you guys need to have a workshop, briefing on all this stuff. For some reading information for you,
Okay,
this is from 20 years ago,
all right,
the Brownsfield grant that the salmon
all right. Thank you.
folks did. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again. Is there any other comment online? Public comment? All right, then, we'll, if not, then, we'll go ahead and, open up discussion on possible action on Tremont Builders LLC contract for Oyster House exterior work. Judy, did you want to open anything up on that note, or,
Sure, I will.
okay,
I have worked with Sean before. He did a lot of the work before. And he has done an excellent job with restoring and refurbishing and rebuilding actually parts of the Oyster House. And, you know, as before, we had tried to get a hold of others and many of them wouldn't touch it because it was historical. Sean has gone to Bellevue much of the times to find old and original materials for this. And I have to remind the community too that there is funding for this from the legislature, and they have wholeheartedly embraced this. And same with Dan Griffey, and particularly Dan, because he knows the value of the Oyster House and the tourism and the historical value of this, because there were so many people in this community that used to work there. So anyway, I don't know if you've had a time to take a look at it. I'm confident in Sean and his work. He has a few other people that do work for him, but he does most of the work himself. And Travis and I met with him last week to go over what needed to be done to get it ready to be moved. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask.
I don't have any questions.
Yep, you just answered one of mine.
Okay.
I would like approval of this so he can get going on it. As you know, we
yeah.
have this money sitting in waiting for us to utilize and enhance this community, by the way, because
Yeah.
it does bring in people. We gotta have to try to get people in the community. As a small business owner previously, particularly with a restaurant for 10 years, tourism was critical for the livelihood of your community. It's critical for the small businesses. So I'd like to see an approval of this, but go ahead and take a look and ask me questions.
All right. I don't have any questions on that. We've been waiting for an awful long time to get something moving forward here with the grant money set aside for this to continue this project.
When they redid that church, that became a tourist thing too, correct? Help bring people in.
Well, if there's any question as to where the Oyster House is just part of the big picture, it's with the history of it. So it's part of the community, it's part of the port. And
Well, yeah.
I mean, Directly or indirectly, yes. So you have a direction here, a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay,
What is, we don't have any documents, but what's the scope of this exterior work?
oh,
Roughly, big picture.
Just the doors and all the siding, all being weathered in
It's
and
not-
painted.
It's not the whole moving issue.
Nope,
No.
no, it's just to prepare it for moving, so that none of that work has to be done over the water.
yeah,
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve it.
okay, you make a motion to approve the
Contract.
Tremont Builders to do
Do the Oyster
exterior
House
work.
exterior work, yes.
all right,
I'll second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. All right, then let's move on to discussion and possible action on water system. What's the difference between the two of these here? Discussion, possible action on past due reminder and notice, and then possible action on water system past due.
The
Basic.
past due reminders and notices are two administrative letters the board gives to people who haven't paid. The possible action on the past due rates and usage is to address what was detailed in the opinion.
Okay, I
that
was
wrote
reading that, yeah,
That the commission needs to make a decision on whether to move forward with one of those three options or another option that we discuss.
all right.
So
Because that-
Travis, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sheridan.
Go
And
ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to jump in about his three options here. You know, of what he proposed. But you know, I took a look at it. I don't mean to, I know that we really desperately need funds, but on the other hand, maybe I'm jumping ahead. Travis,
No,
I'm gonna
you're
let you.
not. You're not. This is right now, we're open for discussion on this, Commissioner. So,
Okay, well, I did take a look at his proposal
okay,
and I think because, and this is just my opinion, but again, you know, the bottom line is it's the board and what we need to do, monies to move forward, because we know that we've had some issues with trying to get paid. But one of the options was to forgive all the customers prior to the accounting system taking place. It's item number 3, no base rate or usage fees will be pursued by the Port of Allyn water system.
excuse me.
Go ahead.
No, I was sneezing, sorry.
Oh. I think because of the past inefficiencies and all the trouble that we have had, I would like to move forward with a clean slate with everybody. Again, we do need to get paid, things that are absolutely due, but things were pretty rough a year ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. And I would like to suggest that maybe we just create a clean slate and move forward. If there's those who have willingly not paid and willingly not been compliant, then that's another story, but that's just my 2 cents worth. Maybe 3 cents.
What
Um,
thoughts are?
I'm, those people that are 90 days behind because they haven't paid in the last year and a half, 2 years. We need to go after them, send a letter, shut, if need be, shut down the water. I mean, if you aren't taking care of what they need to, then it's their responsibility.
Agreed.
As far as the stuff before, the other option I was thinking of is having it where they give them a time period, since we're throwing this at them, they have a time period in which to pay that back from their previous 90 days or whatever, and just add it to their water bills is another option.
Yeah,
Commissioner Sheridan, if I may.
go ahead.
In regards to what Commissioner Curtin was discussing, the port will always work with anyone that wants to start making payments and come up with a payment plan. So that as long as they stick to the payment plan, you know, the water doesn't stop flowing. We just agree to, you know, settle the terms. This, right here, this sheet here is only from 2023 up. This isn't any of the old system. This is
Okay.
just what's currently on the board for when, the accounting change took place in 2023, January.
Okay,
There's quite a bit on the table here, and the inactive accounts that are here, some of them are houses that have sold or not sold, or are just still owned by developers. Few of these inactive accounts are people that are currently current with everything. They
okay,
just didn't start getting billed until
yeah,
after this portion was collected. So,
so it's crazy.
this is just looking for a clear answer on how the commission wishes to move forward cleaning this up.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Secretary, no longer welfare. No, Michelle. Anyway, some things come to mind when I read this. One is, there's a number of scenarios here. Excuse me, just like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Reflection of the way. There's a number of different scenarios here, and what I'm asking here is, has the court taken the time to have your attorney look at the various scenarios and make sure what you're about to propose
No,
doesn't have other consequences? We'll just say other unintended consequences. If you were going to take the process of forgiving, then the board needs to make a special, in my opinion, make a special notation, because you have a water service plan that says one thing, how you were gonna handle things. You know, as far as billing and all this kind of thing, and termination, you know, all this kind of thing. And if you're not going to do that, which is permissible, but you know, boards can do that,
yeah,
then there has to be a separate recognition, in my opinion, of this event covering these scenarios, this time frame, so that it's encapsulated in one point in time, so that it can't be argued over and over as a, you know, hey, you did this for other people, not why, you know, that kind of thing.
right,
That's my opinion. But
okay,
I'd first start with itemizing the scenarios, because there's several of them. Run that by the attorney relative to your plan.
yeah,
And make sure you're not creating unintended consequences.
right, that's my concern.
And I understand also a number of the sides of the arguments or opinions that are presented here. All have their legitimacy and approach. But if you're going, but especially if you're gonna forgive, then it really needs to be well documented why and some, you know, points made to it so that it's not somehow pulled in the future for some other thing. So.
Right, thank you. Has the committee met on this matter? We have-
Committee hasn't met yet. They meet
Okay.
next week.
All right, I would like to see them meet on this.
We have some sales in the plat that will be affected by this decision or not this decision.
Well, for starters, for starters, I'd like to definitely have, I mean, be in a position where we collect upon the sale of anything as we move along, regardless. I don't know why we would need to have a commission agreement on that. I shouldn't say, a motion to approve that. I mean, right, if something sells, fees need to be
Correct.
collected.
Correct.
Without further discussion, really. I mean, that's, so correct me if I'm wrong, so I don't
Correct.
know
This
why.
is to address the people who are currently on the water system. If they sold today, they would be asked to pay
Yes,
money that they had no idea they owed.
oh,
Okay,
okay,
and some of them do know, but some of them do not
okay,
because of the old system.
okay,
So
In that light too. If,
so,
depending which option you pick, I also believe that you need, and it's, I believe it's in the water system, current water system plan. You need to file lien documents.
what?
Lien
Oh, a lien, a mechanics lien, like, whatever you call it.
Utility.
Okay.
Like
utility.
PG does.
Okay,
So,
all right. Well, I am aware of that, that you have to do that. But, it goes back to, your point, really. Right?
several points.
Because you run it by council, but there's gotta be some level of run by council, but we need to, consider that.
For the stuff that's prior, I agree, but there's people that aren't currently paying. That are 90, we need to go ahead and stick with. What we have written
Sure.
and do it. They're
You
two
already-
separate issues, those that
You
are,
already have the plan.
Right.
To do it, it just.
yeah.
it
No,
just-
this is to address just all the old building stuff.
Very old stuff.
Everything that's new is still just being followed by me administrating the water system.
We just gotta,
Oh, okay, so you are
Yes.
keeping up.
Yes.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem is when you produce a report, it gives you both the past and the present. And I guess we're.
No,
talking-
no, it just gives you the present because the past is on a separate cycle.
What I'm saying in your chart, you have.
No,
past.
this chart is all the past, all current.
Yeah, but I'm saying you have past. Problems, that's where I'm going.
Right, those past
Yeah,
problems
yeah,
are not
past
tabulated here.
problems On the
and-
same document, so to speak, that's what I'm saying, it can
Okay.
get a little confusing, anyway, that's my.
All right.
2 minutes.
thank you. No, it's, I mean. The unintended consequences is real in terms of setting a precedent here that, yeah, wow. The problem is people that owe that don't know they owe. That's where I'm struggling.
Yeah, and that's the intent behind this is to get
You
a
know,
decision from the commission.
Those would be the
So,
only ones that I would lean towards,
Yes,
giving, a wash.
yes,
Right,
that's what I was referring to.
right, okay, exactly. So, I'm not ready to move forward with a motion to take action because of that. I want to know, I would be willing to do that. But, and so, right now, what do we need that you have coming on the table
Well,
here?
I
That,
can guarantee our attorneys are gonna say it has to be congruent. It's all or done. Can't just single anybody in,
well, I understand that.
and that's what it sounds like it's being proposed. So. I will take that information to the attorneys and ask.
Yeah, and then, how does that affect anything that you were suggesting here? You were just saying that there's something coming up here in a few days. That,
Yes, there's a sale coming up at the end of the month that is affected by old system and new system buildings.
and I would, argue that, that this shouldn't affect that because, based on council's response on that matter,
It'll be in to enforce the water.
yeah, and exactly, and then, we're gonna have to deal with the big picture here in terms of, my concern is always gonna go back to, I'm actually leaning towards, in part, Commissioner Scott, and what she was saying, but there's more than 3 options.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say, and it's a mix between 2 and 3, with a little bit of 1, so because we need to collect on fees that are past due for those that do and are aware that they owe us money on any sale. And then, because of the inconsistencies of running a little bit looser than we had in the past that we're not doing anymore. We have to take some responsibility on that. So. I'm not sure that helps you, but we need to, run that by council, even. I agree with that. Even though we know the answer to that. I mean, we would need to enforce policy. That's not a question. It's just what do we do with the dollars that people aren't aware that they owe? That's,
Yeah, my thing is we should give them. A set amount of time to pay it. Let them. Like he said, work with them to cover it and not threaten, not cut them off if they're as long as they continue to make payments and try to pay it off. That way, we're sticking with our standards or our rules. And at the same time, we're also working with the customers, trying to help them, in a tight situation.
Okay, well, I will present this information to the attorneys and until
How,
it's brought before the commission again, continue to follow water policy.
so none of these, let's see, total past due. How many of these are folks that might not be aware of what that they owe past due?
Just the inactive accounts of the homes sold. And then perhaps one or two in the upper list. One of them just hasn't paid, period. Can't get any response from them at all.
Really?
That's when I'd say they're not paying their bill.
We gotta enforce our-
Enforce our policy.
We need to enforce our policy. That's
Regardless of. It's kind of the way it is.
All the other tasks at hand in the office, that's when I could finally get to writing these new
I know,
past due and shut off notices up so that the court has an official document.
I know if
Did
I
not
don't,
have one. which
if I don't pay
water
my
policy
bills,
said it needed to have.
I- they, shut off my power or let water or whatever. So
all right.
I guess I'm a little more hardcore about it, but
No, we need to work. Like you said, people that are past due, that are willing to put a payment plan, that's the way to approach this. Go ahead.
Question. Do these letters, the board needs to,
Uh-huh.
do?
Yes,
I think. Let me speak. There's two letters there. There's no reason why the board couldn't approve those so that you're in position.
Yeah, I want to approve the letters. It's
yeah,
just,
that's the next item of discussion.
it's just the level in which we
Yeah,
want.
I got it.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you.
And I could give some context on how these letters come about if you would like that.
Go ahead, please.
Both of these letters were pulled from our water policy and worked closely with Aaron, who is our accountant, but also works for the Manchester Water System.
Okay,
So we worked together to combine our thoughts on both of these, the notice of intent to disconnect service and the past due reminder. So the past due reminder is sent out first, gives them 10 days to respond. And then if they don't respond in the 10 days, then the notice of intent to disconnect service goes out. And then after 20 days of this going out, then the water is shut off if it's not paid, or a payment plan occurs.
what's the system you have set up for identifying those time requirements, so when you send out, it really,
So-
even beyond the water, I'm
So the
sorry,
water policy says that we're to send these notices out on the 27th of the calendar month.
okay,
After the last billing that's happens mid-month and the 15th.
okay,
So today is the 27th.
right,
And the
Okay.
intent was to start working through these now
okay,
to address the past dues on the new system of everything.
all right,
2023 and forward, but
good timing,
technically all the accounts in the old system would be subject to it too, according to the water policy.
that's right.
So these would technically go out to everyone across the.
Well, we still should pursue that. And then we still should pursue that. I really, so link, throwing that at council, well, let's move forward with the yay or nay on the letters. But the run by council, I just want to understand clearly. I like that, the potential of unintended consequences from us moving forward. With a decision on how to handle the past due. I would like the committee also to be talking about this and bring it to us. And that would bring a form that's proper for us when we're making decisions with the water, instead of it just being, I'd like to tighten up discussion versus comment you know, regarding issues that we know that you've been very helpful with, and that we could be putting that on the agenda where the committee, one or a representative of the committee brings to us a discussion on certain matters, right? And running that by council combined with that, I think we're going to be moving forward pretty quickly in our next meeting coming up. We can, you know, we got that right around the corner. So,
If council can get to it in time, they have a lot of
Right.
tasks on their board currently.
okay,
I have,
My
Judge.
worry is they're working overtime for us and our budget doesn't.
yeah, I don't, right, this
So,
is a
something
quick,
to consider.
yeah,
I have a question on the disconnect. Should there also be something that includes the charge to letting them know what it's gonna cost to reconnect?
So it's noted in the water policy of a reconnection fee, but the fee is not listed.
That's
okay,
something that we should put in there, or is that something that needs to be revisited every
That would
year?
be something that has to be revisited and
Okay.
when we're revisiting policy, and we are
Yeah.
currently in the process of revisiting policy as we work through our developer contracts.
all right,
So that's something the committee can do when they're.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be helpful for
Something
sure.
the committee could recommend for the.
There's gonna be lots of things that we need to correct in there, for sure. All right, so, do we have a motion for these letters?
Hey, I'll make a motion.
I will second it.
Well, we got,
Okay.
let's make the motion first.
Okay. I'll make a motion on the past due reminder letter and the notice of intent to disconnect service letter. To
I'll
approve it, approve them both.
All right, that motion's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It's so moved. All right. So we really, in that discussion, we went ahead and moved from that discussion directly, as we wrapped up the past due reminder notice, so. That's, is there anything else on those two notes that need to be addressed regarding the water?
No, that's the end
Alright.
of the agenda.
All right. So that's all we had. We were gonna go ahead and allow for public comment at the end here. Did you want to make a comment, anybody? Do we have anybody on?
As long as it's about this.
Yeah, well, of course, the public comment regarding the matters of today. Anybody else? Online, okay. Is that a
Yeah,
no?
I'd like to make another public,
Go ahead, Mr. Sealand.
okay. Yeah, I think that, the port is going in the right direction with the disconnect notices and the, notice to the customers. Following up on that, largely the problem in the past is that the billing from the port has been very irregular. In 2023, we understand that the directors, one of them was very sick and both of them passed away. But as a government agency, the port should have systems in place to make sure that their billings are sent out in a timely manner and consistent. Also, we did have customers that spoke with the port about paying, but then were not followed up with to get payment. So they were allowed to rack up large bills and then became a flight risk and ultimately left the port with a bill and left us with a back rent bill. So this was just not a good situation for anybody. And because of that, because the port is a government agency and wants to comply with the highest ethical standards, I think that it is a very good consideration that the port is moving toward forgiveness of those back bills. The customers were not, when people do not get timely billing, they tend not to pay on time. And that is just what happened through all of 23 and a good portion of 24. And so that needs to be addressed. And we are pressing for that to happen, that those back water bills be waived. We should not be collecting water bills for the port or being a collection agency for the port for these back water bills. So the direction that things are going, I think with notices is important to the customer, so they understand that if they don't pay, there will be consequences. That PUD is doing the same thing, and they seem to always be getting paid. But it's also very important that the customers aren't allowed to rack up too many back bills like has happened in the past, because they then tend to give up, and it puts us and the port in a bad situation when that happens. So I appreciate the leaning toward forgiveness of these back bills and starting over with a clean slate and a new policy going forward that's going to be beneficial to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to add one more note on that. So as we navigate in and resolve this issue with the ones that did not know that they owed, we're talking about people who weren't even responsible for the bill to begin with, correct?
No, they were responsible. They lived at the location.
So correct me if I'm wrong, or I want to make sure that we're not trying to bill somebody that is currently now leasing and or owns a home from somebody prior to, a bill that's been a residual that's been kind of hanging out there.
No, we're not billing people that are currently there.
I just want to make sure the
That's
obvious.
held back as owed in the old system, or considered 90-day pass on the owner's account if it's leased.
Okay, all right, and you don't need our moving of a motion to collect monies on a sale.
No, it's.
I'm making sure we know that. Okay, so just
Yes.
go ahead and take care of that, and why we we'll have a further discussion on this and have a solid ground one direction or another. No matter what, we have to do that soon, the next meeting for sure. As far as what to do with the old dollars owed. Okay, in the
We'll
meantime,
attempt to get an answer from our lawyer.
Yeah.
Team by then.
that can, and I agree that he's gonna say just enforce the policy, but that still doesn't, we can still forgive some dollars that people I just weren't aware of, and the way we did business and the way we're doing it now are like 180. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if Travis to itemizes the different approaches, because there's different scenarios here.
There
for different
is.
Parties, and so one might be easy to forgive and document, and might forgive.
Yes,
Another one may not. The consequences are not good. So
yeah, I agree with,
that's why I say itemize the types, because it's not, if you just give them general, I think they're gonna agree with what you know to be is follow the policy. Well,
right.
there's some different situations that they need to be aware. If they're aware and they still say that, that's the way, like I said.
And I think without tasking you too more heavily on this hard work that you've already doing there, Travis, we're all, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong again, but we're only going to have a couple of them here that are in a scenario where we can it'd be a lot easier to forgive that than it would be the rest of them.
I will have to break it down that way. There's going to be more than a few.
All right.
Few is in one or two. No, there's going to be more than one or two.
And yeah, when you say that we're looking at a
But
half
we're
a
not
dozen,
talking about thousands of dollars here. We're talking about a few hundred cases.
and see, that's exactly, that's why enforcing policy and coming up with a payment plan.
In other cases, it will be thousands of dollars, but those are people that have not been paying their bill and currently reside. So
Okay,
So
All right.
those are done.
just provide us a little for lack of better words, just a little clarity on a couple of those situations coming into the next time we have to make a decision, because like you said, there's a few that there are a couple few that are in the thousands, and most of them are in a few $100s range, right? In collectively, actually, I mean, they're not huge dollar amounts to get back on track with a handful of them, and then there's only a couple of them that are in the thousands, and we're looking at $1,800 on total past due. Yeah, 16. There's three. Well, there's three of them and they're above $1,500. That's a lot of money. All right. Any further discussion here? All right, this meeting is adjourned.